Okay, now we're going to talk about is how we will be adding the seats, the little cushions, or how the different ways that you can add those onto the chairs. Now, this is one of those chairs where it's the cardboard one where the back post didn't go up through here. So this is a little different. And you don't have to cover anything if you don't want to. You could leave the chair completely like this and just be absolutely fine with it. Not a problem. But I'm going to give you a couple of different ways. The most difficult way, of course, is the one that I used for my chair. The examples to show you, and you can see them here. And I used a method similar to this for these chairs, which I just finished. Wow, that's really crooked. And you can see they have a little like mat kind of thing to sit on, but it's not as poofy as this one. And I added on the backs of these, I added a little bit of the same sort of fabric. So you can see that. I still may do that here. And I also added some painted decoration instead of this red fabric here. And I'm going to explain how and why I did that. So the first thing that you're going to need, with the exception of if you just decide to cut out some fabric, and this is cut out fabric, I used a pair of scalloped scissors to cut these out to make it a little fancier. So these can just be, with some glue, just adhered right to the back and the seat portion, if that's what you want to do. So there's one option. Another option is using the pattern pieces. These I cut out one of each or two of each and then just stitched them together, and they could be glued onto the seat. And you see they poof up a little bit, which I think is a pretty nice method as well. I'd like to do a version where I do some more embroidery work on these, but that's for another time. There are a lot of different ways that you can do this, and I'm going to push this over here for a little bit. The starting point for all of these, with the exception of just using, straight up little pieces of fabric, is a piece of cardboard. Now, this one you can see is from a package of ice cream novelties. The scratchy marks here are, I sanded it, and then I gave it just one little coat of some ModPodge, sorry. I didn't do ModPodge on this side. The ModPodge will help here doing two things. Number one, it's kind of a roughed up surface. What happens is sometimes the ink on this is blue, and I was working with pinks and light tones, and I didn't want that to come through. I didn't want the little fibers, the little bits of dust to come off and stain anything. So I did that. I painted on a little Mod Podge, which in the end helps for everything to adhere to the seats where everything's supposed to go. Now, I expressed some, I was a little upset about this right here, this red. This is a strip of fabric that I painted first with Mod Podge and let it dry. I did some little experiments. But what I didn't like was, if you look at this, you can really see how uneven it is. It kind of looks splotchy and blotchy. And if you look really close, this is a really super inexpensive piece of cloth. This is something that I did get at the dollar store, but you can see by the weave of this is not fabulous cloth. It's white and then dyed. The weave is not fabulous. So I first thought, well, I'll just paint it pink with the Mod Podge. I wanted it to be glossy because I wanted it to look like oilcloth. And I'm not sure that they'd use the term oilcloth anymore. But I wanted it to have kind of like that appearance of, I think it's just a vinyl now, a plastic vinyl. Mostly old folks use them in their homes. My grandmother did, and I thought they were really cool. But you can see here, I painted it first with the Mod Podge, and then I let it dry, and I flipped it over, and then I painted it with white. And you can tell it oh, it looks awful, doesn't it? I kept thinking, well, maybe there's some areas that I could use, and I'm like, no. It has the feel that I want, but if you look up, I don't think I can show it here. Like, can you see this area through here? It just doesn't look very good. So I was like, well, that's not going to use these. So I tried something and it didn't work. So then I decided I was going to try some fabric. Now this is fabric that I bought at a yard goods store here locally. So What, which has some really great fabric, and I love these little strawberries. And you can hear it's different because I painted, this one was with the matte Mod Podge. This is just regular fabric. So it's stiffened it up, so it's more like a canvas kind of feel, I guess you would say, but like a miniature canvas kind of feel. If I used the gloss, it would be shinier, like that oilcloth stuff that I like from way back when. And I thought that this would look really cute, the red, the strawberry print on the little chair. I only painted the one side of it. And you can see here, this is also a fabric where the strawberries are printed onto white fabric. But if you look up close, the fabric has a more even texture. The weave is much more even. And if there are any little inconsistencies, it's really hard to see. So what I'm going to show you now is this method, which I think is really a lot easier to do. And I'm going to show you how to use these. These are they're templates for finding where you want the fabric, where areas where you might want it on the fabric. And you can see here, I designed this because I wanted to make sure these little motifs were where I wanted them to be. So the first thing I did was I went through and I traced out my chair bottom. You can see on this one, I didn't fix the bottom on that one, which I really need to fix the bottom on that one, meaning it's not sanded or anything. However, these pieces that are square are. Oh, and then you'll also notice, because these are square, you can use the curved ones if you want, or if you'd like, you can make ones that are just straight lines, straight angles with corners. Now, what I'm going to do for this is I want to make sure, I like these little viewfinders because you can kind of move them around and figure out what you want. I'm looking around here because there was another fabric that I used. I made this chair. And there were certain like little vignettes that I wanted. I liked this little heart pattern and I liked this. So you can see how something like this little viewfinder will help you. Do you want the fabric to go this way? What do you want to be on here? If I wanted this again to be on it, that's where I would trace it. The same can be said for this fabric. You can see the little butterflies and the little bits there. So with this one, this fabric in particular, it's really not that, I mean, I could choose just about anywhere, but I really do kind of like the little strawberries that have the green tops. So I want to make sure that I've got enough of the little green bits in here. Now what I'm going to do, this is the view that I want on the seat. I'm going to take a ballpoint pen, and this is on the side that's got the Mod Podge. I'm going to trace around it. And I'm tracing right on the Mod Podge. Now notice I'm only tracing the outside portion. Don't trace the inside. And I use a ballpoint pen because I know I can see it. So now you can see where that is. And I can grab my scissors, which I forgot to grab. Get down here. And cut it out. Now, you're probably asking yourself, why did you want to use this particular method other than the fact that your grandma used something like this and you thought it was kind of cute? Well, the big reason is because I didn't like how the fabric for these chairs was behaving. I had to do a lot of sewing on this to get it to look the way I wanted it. And it still didn't quite end up exactly how I wanted it, which... it's exasperating. I don't like that. So that's one of the reasons I came up with this method. So now I've got the piece that I want for the seat. And you should also do this for the top portion as well. And in fact, I'm going to pause it so I can get that